And joining us now on our Book Talk segment, great to welcome one of the co-authors of a really interesting book about kind of a unique topic. It's called Surprise, Embrace the Unpredictable and Engineer the Unexpected. We're joined today by Tania Luna on the telephone. And Tania, good to talk with you. How are you today?
I'm very good. Very excited to talk with you as well.
I'm surprised to talk to you.
Yes, I'm surprised.
Let me be the 10th person to use that joke on you.
No, you're the first.
Am I?
You're the first, yes.
Well,
and just in general, who knows what we're going to talk about? I don't know what you're going to ask.
And that's the premise of the book. Surprise, making life more interesting. First of all, you teach this, I guess, up in New York, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah. So we sell surprises at surpriseindustries.com, and then with my co-author, Leanne Renninger, we do training at a company called Life Labs New York. So we use surprise as a tool in leadership training, but we also teach people how to be more resilient in the face of surprise and how to engineer surprise more often.
Yes, surpriseologist. I just see it in the notes there. That's your title. How did you, not to joke about it, but how did you get interested in this particular topic and to kind of make a business out of it?
Yeah, well, so two different paths for me and Leanne, my co-author. For Leanne, she was studying micro-expressions. So she was looking at how people react, what expressions they have when they talk about their favorite memories. And so she wasn't intending to study surprise, but what she found is that when people showed facial expressions of authentic happiness, meaning like that reliving that emotion, there's almost always an element of surprise in their memory. So that's how she got into it. And she was just like, wow, I want to have more happy memories. And for me, I also kind of unintentionally got into it. My sister Kat and I started Surprise Industries, our company, where people can sign up and they don't know what they're going to be doing until they get there. And I really liked surprising people. I didn't like being surprised myself previously. And so just looking at our clients' reactions, my background's in psychology, so I became fascinated by what was going on in their brains and started studying it that way and started off just thinking it was fun and then realized it's really, it could be life-changing. It's changed my life.
Yeah, when you talk about surprise, and just kind of reading through the book a bit, it's an emotional thing too, but it's more than that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, surprise is something that we experience regularly that we don't even think about or don't even realize. When we're surprised, our emotions are intensified by about 400%, which is really, a lot of intensity if you think about it. So our best memories have an element of surprise to them for that reason. But also surprise is unique in that it completely captures your emotion. It's like your attention. So surprise is this pause button that gets you to stop everything else you're doing and pay attention to this particular moment, which is so rare these days given how many distractions we have. It's also an incredible tool for learning. We know that surprise is a necessary aspect of learning, and for creativity, all kinds of things. I could talk about this forever. It's a secret ingredient, essentially, that we haven't realized is as important as it is.
And when you talk about surprise, the basis of telling a joke, right? Comedians, it's the punchline is a surprise. That's what makes, hopefully, if you're a comedian, makes you laugh, right?
Exactly, yes. So anything essentially that if you're going for comedy, there has to be some kind of surprise twist at the end. But even an interesting conversation. Think about your favorite people to talk to. Those are the people that'll lead you into a conversation that you've never really had before. You don't know what they're going to ask. You don't know where what you'll discover through that conversation. So it's funny, but it can also just be engaging and interesting.
Do we know in the brain? The brain's always trying to figure things out and make sense of things, and the brain doesn't like surprises, right? For the next time it'll know that, so it kind of works against itself a little bit, right?
It has a love-hate relationship with surprise. So you're right. Every surprise, basically, what it does for our brains is it teaches us and it makes us attentive so that we're not surprised by the same thing again in the future. So we do have neural mechanisms that try to prevent surprise. On the other hand, if we don't have enough surprise in life, then all kinds of terrible things can happen. We think of this concept of a surprise seesaw. So if you have too much surprise, then you experience anxiety. If you don't have enough surprise in life, then you experience boredom and disengagement. And boredom might seem like it's no big deal, but it's actually related to poor health, depression, relationship dissatisfaction. So even though if you ask your brain, hey, brain, do you want to be surprised? Your brain might be like, no, I just want to know what to expect. Actually, even though we feel most comfortable when things are certain, we feel most alive when they're not. So our richness of life comes from those surprises.
And I guess this is kind of related, when big events happen in the world. You go back to the Kennedy assassination, the Challenger explosion, obviously 9/11. I mean, not too long ago. Those are bad surprises, unfortunately, but they stick in your mind and you remember them where exactly you were, what you were doing at that moment, right? So that's isn't that what happens with a surprise on different scales? But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, even the smallest surprises are more memorable. They capture your attention. But big national level surprises like that, international surprises, even when they're bad, they do some really interesting things even culturally. If you remember after 9/11, even though it was one of the worst surprises in most people's lifetimes, there were some really interesting changes that started to happen. People started interacting with one another differently. Being here in New York, I got to see strangers talking to each other on the street in a way I'd never seen before in my whole life in New York. So whether good or bad, surprise leads you in a new direction. It's an opener for new possibilities, and that's one of the aspects that I love about it, is that it's just this like opening possibilities that you never knew existed.
Yeah, I was up there. I grew up there, but I was up there on vacation, unfortunately, that week. But yeah, you're right. People were talking to each other that probably would not have done that normally. You wouldn't talk to strangers. So yeah, that was one of the things that came.
There's some really good research on that too. That just surprise brings communities together. Negative surprises can actually make people healthier in some ways. And what researchers suspect is that it's because after negative surprises, we connect with others more. We use that as a coping mechanism. So it makes us, in some ways, more optimistic and actually physiologically healthier. So there's some positive aspects to negative surprise as well.
So getting back to the benefits of it and what you kind of do for businesses, how do you kind of go into a business and help them? I guess with the employees, right? You try and create a better atmosphere for them. Well, how does that work?
Yeah. So we, on the one hand, we make sure that you reduce surprise in areas where surprise shouldn't be, where surprise shouldn't thrive. So it could be something like, for example, we work with the employee review process. That's an aspect of your business where you don't want surprise. People should know what you think of them. So how do you reduce surprise? That's one of the areas we work on. But then on the other side, how do you add more surprise? So how do you create more variety, more richness, opportunities for people who don't usually talk to one another? How do you create opportunities for those people to connect? So some companies do a really playful lunchtime roulette kind of concept where you'll get people from the organization who don't know each other and you get them to go out to lunch. And that's it. That simple. But you're just mixing people up and creating these serendipitous opportunities for creativity and connection to happen. And of course, you can get even more playful with it and create opportunities for people to just bring aspects of themselves to work that they usually leave at home.
And then I know you talk about it in the book as well, just people in their own individual lives, you give some tips on how to create surprises. It can be on a really small scale, right? It doesn't have to be a huge thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that when we think of surprise, we think of, surprise parties and big, elaborate things. But I think the most powerful surprises are actually the small, frequent ones. So it could be as small as you don't even have to plot anything. You just spend the day wondering. I mean, you literally just walk around and you say, I wonder more. And research shows that when we say, I wonder, or I'm not sure, our brains become more engaged and we intensify whatever that experience is. So just spending the day wondering, spending the day where you go to a new location and you allow yourself to get a little bit lost. You spend some time wandering without your GPS. But then also just introducing novelty into your life, trying new things, meeting new people that are different from the kinds of people that you usually talk to. And as simply as adding a surprising question to our conversation. So asking someone something that you've never tried asking before.
Yeah, great ideas, and really unique and interesting book. It's called Surprise, Embrace the Unpredictable and Engineer the Unexpected. We've been talking with Tania Luna, who along with Leanne Renninger have written in this book. And Tania, you want to direct people to a website? I know it just came out, but do you have a website you want to send people to?
Yeah, sure. So you can find the book anywhere online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookstores, and you can learn a little bit more about us at surpriseology.com. So you can also download some bonus content from the book.
Great. Tania, pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully we can do it again. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. This was a pleasure.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to DougMilesMedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at DougMilesMedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media. All rights reserved.
You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or Doug Miles Media.